This is the Houston Football Show, brought to you by Prime Social Club and Inside Edge, with your hosts, Aaron Wilson and Shaun Bijani.
Welcome into another edition of the Houston Football Show. I'm Shaun Bijani from Sports Radio 610. Joined as always by NFL insider Aaron Wilson, covers the Texans for KPRC Local 2. Aaron, extremely busy news day today. We have a lot to get to. J.J. Watt retired this morning, announcing it on Twitter. He'll step away at season's end. Art Rooney's son, John Rooney, passed away today, and former Texan gets a head coaching job at a historically black university. Ed Reed will be the new head guy. I think the 16th head coach in school history at Bethune-Cookman. We'll start with J.J. Watt, though. I want to get to all of these things, but Watt announces his retirement, will step away at the end of the season. 12 years, 10 with the Texans, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, best player in the league for a good stretch of his dominance here in Houston. All around fantastic guy. Humanitarian award. Give him everything. Your thoughts on his career, the decision, what led to him calling it quits now?
Well, I think a lot of that's to do with family. He's a father now. He had a serious health issue where he had an irregular heartbeat. Like moments like that, as he said, they kind of say a lot to you about what's important. And so, he has a wife, he has a son, and I think his health is very important to him. And, he's been through a lot of injuries. The Cardinals are not on the cusp of anything. I mean, they're a mess right now. So what's he going to do? He can chase the Super Bowl, which is, eluded him. He never got to play an AFC championship game. Or he can retire with, he's got some health issues. He's got a lot of things he's been through health-wise. So I think he's doing the right thing for himself. And retirement is a really personal decision. So when a lot of people say, well, what about the Super Bowl ring? Well, it's really easy to talk about someone else's life when it's not you walking in their shoes. So you don't know what it feels like. The efforts he has to make to play even at the level he was playing at. He good game recently. I thought he looked, almost like old JJ for a while there. But, the guy's squatting, 600, 700 pounds. He's going to lift all these heavy weights. It takes a toll on his body, and he has a really high standard. He's not looking just to hang on. He wants to be an impact player. And he still is at times. I thought that he did a good job of retiring when he still had something left in the tank. You really want to be celebrated, not tolerated. Where maybe he could have hung on. Maybe he could have signed with someone else. He's a free agent. But no, I don't anticipate any comeback. I know some people have kind of amusingly talked about, maybe he'd play for the Texans. Absolutely not. The Texans are even worse now than when JJ left. So yeah, I don't anticipate that. Do I think he eventually does the one-day contract thing? Sure. Yeah, Andre Johnson did it. I'm sure JJ will do it. And the team did right by him. They released him, allowed him to be a free agent. They didn't try to hold on to him for whatever they could have got, a fifth-round pick or whatever it would have been. I think he's on good terms, and they'll celebrate him when it comes time. Yeah, everything, Ring of Honor, all those good things. And, yeah, we'll have a chance to, I'm sure, visit with him at some point, and, yeah, it's all good.
I literally this morning spent about 15 minutes on my show on Sports Radio 610 talking about the fact that JJ is going to be a free agent at season's end, and whether or not he would entertain the idea of going to play with his brothers in Pittsburgh with TJ and Derek, or returning to Houston at some point in time. I mean, he's not an old guy. He's an older guy. And everything you'd said, spot on, obviously, has looked like vintage JJ at times this year, and was so happy that he's been as healthy as he has this season. Do you think if it wasn't such a mess in Arizona that he still would have made this decision? Obviously, largely based on health and family. But I remember when he was here in Houston And I guess it was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years into his time here. He'd said, and because I guess he was asked about, retirement one day, and he'd said he's going to retire when he feels like he has nothing left in the tank, when it's all spent. But it doesn't look like that this year.
I mean, the biggest thing I would go back to, Shaun, is, I've covered a lot of players when they retire. I covered Ray Lewis. I covered Ed Reed. I've covered Jonathan Ogden, Michael McCreary. I look at a lot of these guys that had great careers, and eventually you just know it's time, and it's highly personal in the sense of this is a great part of your life. This defines you, and what's the next chapter? So when you're a football player and you are passionate about it the way JJ is and was, it's hard to walk away. But when you have a family, you have a lot of great things, a lot of great opportunities. I would think commercials, television, many things he could do. He could coach. He used to talk about coaching high school football. Yeah. Maybe he'll do that. I wouldn't be surprised. He'll know what the right things to do. I mean, this guy is someone that makes a lot of great decisions. He works very hard at whatever he does. I was reading an article about him when he's on the maintenance crew at Camp Randall after he transfers from Central Michigan. He was serious about that. He's serious about everything.
Yeah.
So, I think JJ will have a fun post-football life, and I'm happy for him. And, to do this at his age, this is great. I look at it like this isn't sad. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I think we all are, because for him to make the decision, the timing, everything, it's certainly something that he's thought a lot about. And when you've got a wife and a brand new kiddo, you tend to think about things a lot differently in those circumstances. So who knows, though? A year from now, 2 years from now, maybe he pulls a Gronk and tweets out, "Hey, I'm bored," and wants to come back. We'll see, though. Let's take a minute for our friends at Houston's longest-standing poker club. It's Prime Social Poker Club, located at 7801 Westheimer. A long-standing reputation for taking care of their customers. Class and quality is what they take pride in. And it's not just a poker room. It's a place to hang out with the guys, get a great meal, any drink you want. They've got a fully stocked bar, pool tables, games throughout the venue, and, of course, dozens of poker tables. Prime Social Poker Club has over 21,000 members now, and you can become one today. Lifetime memberships are just $10. And once you join up, you take part in daily and nightly tournaments if you want to, buy-ins anywhere from $60 to $5,000, and guaranteed prize money every time, with pots as high as $2 million. That's serious cash from Houston's best and first-class poker club. Open daily, 24/7, closes only when you leave. They've got free play 10-1, happy hour every day 4 to 9, located again at 7801 Westheimer. It's Prime Social Poker Club. All right, Aaron, let's get to some Texans football discussion here. For the Texans, I want you to do me a favor. Fill in the blank. For the Texans, winning out would be?
It's okay. It's fine. I've been paying attention to naming names, but God, some people are so emotional about whether they pick second or first. Last time I checked, the Chicago Bears have a quarterback, Justin Fields.
They do.
Sure, they can wheel and deal. Is Bryce Young someone that you trade up for? I can't say that. I think he's appropriate for the first pick. To me, it's just like when Kyler Murray was there. He was the pick. There wasn't anybody like inordinately excited. It was like, yeah, he's the right pick. He makes sense. I think they could find some use for Will Anderson or another player, and I would expect them to look at their defense or packaging the pick. And I would think that, the Texans, if they need to move that one spot, if they really need Bryce Young and they're really sure that's the guy, not saying that it is, but just say that that's what they want to do, they have enough draft capital that they could move. It might cost you something just to be sure. And, of course, there'll be a lot of gamesmanship. It's better, but I don't really have a problem with them winning and learning how to win. They're going to have some of these players back, whether the same coaching staff will be back. I keep hearing likely not, that they even winning out probably, the die kind of cast what's going to happen here. But, we'll see. Let it play out. I don't think it's disastrous If they win these games, they win them. The Jaguars game will be really tough to win if the Jaguars attempt to win it, if they play their guys. They have lost 9 in a row, obviously the Texans, but they're playing on a different level right now. Trevor Lawrence is really lights clicked on. Doug Peterson's dialing up the right plays for him, and ATN's a great running back. So it'll be a hard game to win. Texans are playing really well, though. They'll be competitive. I just look at it, I think, some of the people that are talking about this stuff, they act like it's their draft pick. Like, they're way emotional about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit detached. Whoever they pick, they pick. And the big thing is, too, people say, well, there's a difference between Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. Of course. But, that's the Jets' fault for drafting Wilson and reaching for a quarterback. His body of work at BYU does not suggest second pick in the draft. He had a good pro day, and that's against air. They made a big mistake. That could be very costly to Joe Douglas, to Robert Saleh. Could see big changes with the Jets. We'll see if Woody gives them a pass. Fact is, the standard in New York is a lot lower than it used to be. And the fact that they've even been relevant and won some games, it changes things a little bit for that owner. I know that they wanted to make the playoffs. They thought they were going to contend for a while. And then they came back to reality. To me, it's, if you wind up with Stroud, that wouldn't be a bad outcome. I think he's a good quarterback too. I'm not big on Levis at that stage of the first round, or I don't even know if Richardson should be a first round pick, but he probably will be. Someone will take a flyer on him. And yeah, I think they should try to win the games. I don't think you should ever try to lose.
Yeah, look, the players are the ones that.
Why would the players try to lose?
And I don't think they try to lose. And coaches, certainly ones that don't have a guaranteed future with an organization, with the state of this organization as it is, and Lovie Smith and the staff. It's such a unique, weird situation that's played out right before our eyes, and we have so many more questions than answers at this point with the entire scenario. But it is about control, and the Texans are on the verge of losing the benefit of being able to control their own destiny when it comes to potentially taking a franchise-changing player. If that, in fact, is Bryce Young, who knows? If it's C.J. Stroud, who knows? It could be a number of guys in this draft, but, everybody that I've talked to, Aaron, seems to make the same points. You talk about all of the great qualities and the skill set that Bryce Young or that other really good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks possess. Bryce Young has a lot of those. And, if you trust your eyes, you tell me when's the last time you saw Bryce Young, play a bad game and just really make you question, man, I don't know if this guy can do it outside of just simply his stature. If he's 5'10", if he's 5'9", 190 or 185, that seems to be what it's going to come down to and create much of the concern for an organization. But, let's not forget, too, you mentioned the New York Jets a couple of years ago. Yeah, maybe it's their fault for reaching for Zach Wilson, but, he was highly talked about and, looked at as like a guy that can maybe do something at the next level. But they also screwed up and won a game, within the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season themselves and wound up 2-14 and costing themselves that opportunity at the number 1 overall pick.
Right. There's all these scenarios and they're all valid, but what I don't really understand is how would you legislate losing? Would you tell the players, if you're Lovie Smith, hey, Cal really needs this pick, or Nick said we need it, or this or that, or whatever you tell them, or, no, don't worry about it, guys. These guys are playing for their careers. And what are you supposed to do? Put out bad tape? How do you not try? You might, the only way you can legislate losing, I guess, is you can make them bench people. You can make the argument, couldn't Pierce have made it back? That's what I was told for the last game, or couldn't he have gotten 1,000 yards? He wanted to. Sure. Is it really controversial? No, it's fine. I just don't really see how you can do that. How many weeks would it have taken Stingley to get back up to running speed? Let's say he starts practicing now. to play in one game, there's no point. But, if you say to just give me an example, I'm trying to think of ways that they could probably ensure the loss. You play all backups.
I'll give you one.
You play Kyle Allen. I mean, I don't know. You play.
I'll give you one, and it's unfortunate because people can sound silly, and I don't ever really like sounding silly to the extent of I don't want to be like conspiracy guy, but it comes down to, okay, is it a part of the plan? Is this systematic? Or is the coaching staff really this bad? And I point to the first month of the season where the Texans could do something very similar now that they did within the first month of the season when they were so close to winning, 3-4 ball games, starting off, 0-3-1. When they refused to play Dameon Pierce in the game's most important situations, did not play him late in the game inside of 6 minutes at all through the first 4 games of the season, when clearly he was your best player, not named Laramie Tunsil and Brandon Cooks at that time. He was kind of the guy that kept you, feeling like you had a chance this season. And I don't know if the Texans do something similar. I don't know who that would be. But they've played in large part, the thing that makes me really question that, they played in large part without any Nelson, any Collins, any Cooks, any Green, any Pierce, not all at the same time, but presumably they certainly could with all of those guys being out. Obviously Stingley too, the next 2 weeks. It'll be interesting to see what Brandon Cooks' status is if calf does kind of crop up this week and prevent him from playing, and maybe some other guys, and the Texans maybe make some business decisions that way in terms of health to put a weaker, lesser product out on the football field. Maybe they decide to just roll with Davis Mills the rest of the way and kill the quarterback duo.
I don't know. That's a lot to absorb. I would say, Shaun, that, I talked to Brandon before this game, and he told me why he wanted to play and what it meant to him. And then, he's a very honest guy, very, very earnest, very sincere. And if he tells me something, I believe him. He told me he would play, and he played. And he played well. He caught the game-winning touchdown. Obviously nothing's changed for him with the offseason, but it meant something to him this is the last time he'll be with this group of teammates, these friends, and they are friends. These are guys, as he says, his brothers. So, it might, I know everybody looks at this like, oh, it's business, but ultimately you're people, you're grown men, you work together, and you have a common bond, and, you bleed, you sweat together, all those things. And so, I'm sure he'll play. He feels pretty good. He just had a little bit of cramps after the touchdown where he was feeling the cold, the elements a little bit, but he's okay. And I think he'll play, and they'll have him and Chris Moore and Dorsett, and they'll line up, and they'll be all right. They may not have Tegan Kuatoriano, who's hyperextended his knee and bruised his quad, so we'll see if he can go this week or go at all the rest of the year. But I would say there's a lot of elements here where I could see them playing some more football.
He's Aaron Wilson, Shaun Bijani. We're going to take a minute for our title sponsor, an Inside Edge and Prime Social. And when we come back, we'll get to the Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars game this weekend. Look ahead at that one, talk about some of the matchups, and give you some numbers that you may not know. That's next.
Come out and enjoy Houston's longest-standing poker room with a stellar reputation for class and quality, Prime Social Poker Club. At Prime, you'll enjoy an upscale social environment, fully stocked bar, gourmet dining, pool tables, dozens of poker tables, and many other fun games throughout the venue. You can also join their over 21,000 members with a lifetime membership for only $10. What are you waiting for? Get into the game. Come join us at Prime Social Poker Club. Inside Edge was founded over 30 years ago as a data and analytics provider for Major League Baseball clubs. If you've seen the movie Moneyball, then you know Inside Edge. They were part of the data and analytics revolution in professional sports. Fans can now have access to the same insights and analytics used by pro teams for free at myinsideedge.com. My Inside Edge is a destination for sports bettors and daily fantasy players where they can find matchup-specific insights and projections to help make informed betting and fantasy decisions. Again, that's myinsideedge.com.
Shaun Bijani and Aaron Wilson back with you on the Houston Football Show. So the Texans and Jags will meet this weekend. The Jags are only favored by 4 in this matchup, Aaron. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're playing good football. They've got 5 of their last 7, in fact. And they've beaten 3 playoff contenders in the last 3 weeks by an average margin of 12 points. Overall in this series, though, the Texans have dominated 28-13 is the all-time series lead. And I hate the all-time record stuff. It doesn't matter, especially in football with roster turnover and all that stuff. But the thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars is they're going to have to win their first game in Houston since December of 2017. That's been nearly 6 years. How are you looking at this game? What are some keys that you think are going to play out in this one? Is, if we're being honest, 99.9% of everybody else wants the Texans to absolutely lose this game.
Right. I mean, if you look at the matchup and the kind of football they're playing, it's been a while since they've really had a stinker of a game, like the loss to the Lions. So 3 weeks in a row, they look really good. I know the Titans are a mess right now, but they still took care of business. They're a high-scoring offense. They scored a lot of points against the Dallas defense that has Michael Parsons on it. Mm-hmm. I take that into account. I look at how they handled the Jets, and they look pretty dominant. There's a lot of good things happening with them. The biggest thing is Trevor Lawrence is on a roll, and the last thing you want to do is run into a hot quarterback. You think about the Texans, and they are playing well in the secondary. They have Steve Nelson back. Jalen Petrie is playing very good football, and they're rushing the passer fairly well, especially Obo Okoronkwo and John Grenard started to make some plays now that he's been back for a couple weeks. They can match up. I think the one I worry about even more than Lawrence is ATN. ATN's really hitting stride right now. So those are some things that give them some issues. They're coming off a win. I think the Texans are starting to build a little confidence. I think they like the role of spoiling people's seasons and being disruptive. And a lot of these guys really like playing for Lovey, and they're not immune to the whispers and social media and all the speculation about Lovey's job. And I've heard, a lot about it, obviously. And there's a lot of people that think, that they will move on, but we'll see. Unless you're talking to Cal McNair or Nick Caserio, and they're not talking to anybody, even you don't really know exactly what they'll do.
Sure.
I've heard a few secondhand things that lead me to believe it's going to go a certain direction, regardless of the outcome of the final games. But yeah, I think the Texans, Davis Mills had a good fourth quarter. He's playing much more carefully. The 2-quarterback thing, it's not really working great, but they want to do it, and it does give the defense something to think about.
It's interesting. Davis Mills, engineering that drive with the go-ahead touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks, which was a hell of a throw, a hell of a catch to help the Texans get that victory last weekend over the Titans. That was just his second game-winning drive of his career. The first one came against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was the duo of Dameon Pierce and Davis Mills, who I think was 4 of 6 on that last drive. Pierce ran for about 26, 30 yards on that drive and punched it through and got the touchdown. I think it was a 1-yard run, weeks and weeks ago when these two teams first met. As I mentioned, the Jags are favored by 4 heading in. Do you think if the Texans win this weekend, obviously that wouldn't be a good scenario for a lot of people out there, but if they win, do you think they enter Week 18 as the favorite over the Indianapolis Colts. I think that would be the first time they'd be favored in any game this season, but maybe even last season, correct?
I can't remember. I honestly don't pay much attention to the point spreads because I don't bet. So I have no idea. But I would think I would pick them to beat the Colts. I'd pick them to beat the Colts right now, regardless of what happens in this game. I like them more than
that's
the
the
Colts.
scary thing. I think everybody would.
If they win or lose this game, it doesn't really change how I feel about the Texans. It's just, and I almost feel like the games, obviously, they're still there. That's what we cover, but the off season can't get here fast enough, and that's what people are into. Not, hearing about this guy played well or this guy's got this many interceptions. I mean, people care to the extent that they hope that there's some players that are going to be on this team that that they like, and who's going to get a new contract. Who are a couple of the guys that will get new deals from Nick Caserio. I think Obacaranco is playing his way into that. I think some guys like Steve Nelson could use a raise based on the way he played this year. Played excellent football. They rarely threw at him. He was that good. And I think they've got some decisions to make at linebacker, D-tackle, center. I think Jordan Akins is worth doing another one-year deal for. I look around, Tremont Smith, maybe Tavier Thomas. So there's some guys that are keepers for sure that are going to have their contract up. And, there's others within the building like Chris Moore. I think he'll bring some of these guys back. Not everybody – that's the way it works. Not everybody gets to come back, but you'll have some guys back.
Yeah, I did that experiment actually a few days ago. And, with taking into account some guys that were on the practice squad that got opportunities this year, I think I came up with 25 guys that I would like to have back and see more from. And of that 25, obviously there are the rookies and the second-year players, which would be second and third-year players entering the 2023 campaign. So it's not that many guys, but there are guys like Obo Okoronkwo, who's a 4-year player entering, I think, his 5th season next year. It'd be his 4th or 5th. I can't remember. It's still a young and ascending player who's played some of his best football in recent weeks that I do absolutely think, warrant another look in, occupying a roster spot here. Let's take a minute for our friends at Inside Edge on the Houston Football Show. We like to use insights generated by the team at Inside Edge. The insights have been a real game changer in game analysis. The company was founded over 30 years ago as a data and analytics provider for baseball clubs. If you saw the movie Moneyball, you know who Inside Edge is. And now fans can access the same insights and analytics used by pro teams for absolutely free at myinsideedge.com. That's myinsideedge.com. It's a destination for sports bettors, daily fantasy players, wherever you can find matchup-specific insights. They've got it all. Projections to help you make informed betting and fantasy decisions. It's awesome that anybody can access these insights for absolutely free. When you check this database out, it is just bonkers. I was addicted to it for about a week and a half straight. It was hard to get away from that. You'll love it too. They've got a package. It's a 5-star game pick package. Last year alone, they had a 71% success rate. That's 34-14 against the spread. You got to get on top of that. Subscribe today. Use the code Houston in all caps, Houston. You'll receive 10% off of your subscription today. It's My Inside Edge. Aaron, I mentioned, a busy sports day. A couple other things aside from J.J. Watt that I know you were on top of today. I just saw your tweet, I guess, within the last hour or so in regard to Art Rooney's son, John Rooney, passing away. Can you give us a little bit more insight on that? Maybe what happened, how that came about?
I don't have a lot of information on that. I just shared the tweet on my way home from the gym. But, yeah, it's the Rooneys. I know Dan Rooney. I know Art Rooney. Great football family, great people. They've done a wonderful job with the Steelers, and they have a tree with lots of branches throughout the NFL. And condolences to them and their family. Great people.
Yeah, I know they did a great job. Obviously, a lot of people didn't get a chance to see the tribute and the jersey number retirement from Franco Harris this past week after his passing last Wednesday. But I know they took care of those folks in Pittsburgh with a great ceremony. And
I would go to that. I covered Ravens Steelers games for over 15 years, and it's a special place, great football town, and it's there's no atmosphere really like it in Heinz Field. So it's incredible home field advantage for them.
So, Aaron, let's get to this. Just wanted your quick thoughts before we get out of here tonight on former Texan getting a head coaching job at HBCU. Bethune-Cookman, Ed Reed will be their 16th head coach in school history. What can you tell us about that?
Right, yeah, I covered Ed's entire career when he played for Baltimore, and I know he didn't really endear himself to the Texans. He didn't see eye to eye with Wade Phillips, but that's a very small footnote in an otherwise legendary career where Ed was one of the best pure free safeties ever to play. And the way he saw the game, his instincts, his dedication to film study, his ability to hit. He wasn't the biggest guy, but he was a guy that had a lot of pop, very, very intimidating hitter during his prime years when his neck was still feeling good, and threw his body around, giving him everything he had. And off the field, really charitable, really good person, really good with the media when he felt like it. Some days it could be a little up and down, like a lot of people. Sometimes his mood was different, and that was when you kind of kept your distance and gave Ed his space and respected that. But if you knew him, and I knew him well, I remember when I was covering him, he's a rookie, to give me his phone number, and he was holding out for about a week. Back then, guys would hold out a little bit, and he signed his contract. And I had been texting with him, and then he called me. I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I just signed my contract. I'll see you at camp tomorrow." I said, "Thanks." I said, "Are you excited?" He said, "What do you think?" I said, "I'm sure you're excited." He said, "All right, I'll see you tomorrow." And he hung up. And I hustled home and wrote my story and got a little scoop from Ed. And that was a long, long time ago, back when I was a younger reporter. But, yeah, I always remember covering Ed. And
did he talk about coaching when he was playing to you, that was something he one day wanted to do?
Yeah, he said he would like to. He used to have these film sessions at his house, and he would cater them, and he would have all the guys over. And that was something he had learned from Ray Lewis, because Ray used to do that. So Ray was like his big bro, also from the U from Miami, and Ed would do that too. And Ed loved to talk football. He loved to talk strategy, and he loved to talk about how he would, fool someone like a Peyton Manning that was so cerebral. But he was just as smart, if not smarter, the way he saw the game. But yeah, he's special. He's right up there with the great players I've had the honor to cover, like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Jonathan Ogden, J.J. Watt. Great players, great guys. And there's a commonality with all of them when you think about what the game means to them.
Yeah.
And I would say the power of the mind is a big thing, because these guys have the intellect and the will and the passion. It's not just everybody's a 4-3. Ed Reed wasn't that fast. He wasn't that big. Ed Reed's tougher, smarter, and had the intangibles with him off the charts. Yeah. Different kind of guy. And yeah, I really don't. I wasn't here. I heard about how he was. He was kind of done. He had a bad hip by then. He'd had surgery. I think he was pretty washed by that point. The Ravens generally keep guys that have anything left. So when they don't want you back, they pretended they wanted him back. But when they don't bring you back, it says a lot.
Aaron, hey, good stuff as always, my man. We'll do it again next week, and I'll see you on the practice field.
See you in the morning.
Not in the morning. I got a host tomorrow morning, but I will see you next week.
I'll see you next week. All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right, Aaron. All right, that's going to do it for the Houston Football Show. We'll talk to everybody again next week. Appreciate you listening, and everybody have a great rest of the week.
Prime Social Poker Club opens daily at 10 a.m. and doesn't close until the last person leaves. Now, that's 24/7, 365 days a year, so you can always get your poker game on at Prime. Also, daily, free play starting at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with happy hour from 4 to 9 p.m. They have daily and nightly tournaments with buy-in starting as low as $60 and going as high as $5,000. Now, check this out. Guaranteed prize money as large as $2 million. What are you waiting for? Get in the game. Prime Social Poker Club here locally in Houston, 7801 Westheimer. We've told you about the endless insights at Inside Edge, but let us tell you about the real gold mine. They're 5-star picks, and in the 2021 NFL season, Inside Edge went 34-14 against the spread for a success rate of 70.8. And now you have access to these 5-star picks for only $20 per pick, or get the deal of the lifetime. Every 5-star pick for the entire year for only $149. Even better, our listeners get a discount of 10% on that access by using code Houston. That's code Houston.
This has been the Houston Football Show, brought to you by Prime Social Poker Club and Inside Edge.